What is up, guys, and welcome to the VisualWood podcast, and I'm joined today by the beautiful, the elegant Wooden Potatoes. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm good. I'm good.
You're
I
good?
have had a wonderful week. It's patch week, so been filled with many epic fun times, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No?
I guess.
I watched your most recent video. How many times have you done the dungeon?
I've done it like 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
2
oh,
were
God.
failed attempts by using the looking for group tool.
Ouch,
so-
really? That sucks.
Yeah.
Before
Going
the
in with
patch came out-
pugs is not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how you made it through first time.
Well, I was with one guildie, and we just used the LFG tool. And it was fine. It was fine. I got a little bit frustrated with the people I was playing with. Just because, I don't know, like... So, you know the bit with the oozes, and they lay all the fire down?
Yeah.
Like-
Fire maze.
Yeah. So, I sort of twigged very quickly, okay, this is how we do it. We need 2 of the oozes to go through. Clearly, no one else had realised. So, I said to my one friend that I was with in Vent, I was like, okay, this is how we do it. So, we understood. Nobody realised, so, of course, you have to then go to chat and type it out so that everybody knows. And then it's fine. And then I ran the first ooze through. I picked up the pheromones. I was running the first ooze through. And everyone just mindlessly killed it. And I said, no, guys, we need to escort this. And they're like, oh, okay. So, then 2 of them... just stand there the next time the user's coming through. 2 of them just stand there and the other guy just keeps fighting. But because 2 of them are just stood there, there's way too many elementals and they just kill the ooze straight away. I said, no, guys, we have to escort this thing. So you need to not kill the ooze, but you have to kill everything else. And they're like, okay, all right, we'll do that. Then I go back through again with the ooze. And then this guy that just has been damaging stuff the entire time just like kills the ooze, just like, and it takes him ages as well. He's like on a bad build, like it's taken him ages to kill the ooze, and they're squishy as hell. But he's just DPSing it and DPSing, and I'm like typing away furiously in chat. No, stop! Why are you killing it? You fool! Why are you killing it? And then it's just dead, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake! And then I have to go through again, and then bless him, the guy was like, oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at chat. It's like, it's fine, you don't have to look at chat, but at least like try and comprehend
What's going on. I've had the same. I just joined the group, right? You know, just to test it out because I never really used it for a bunch of stuff. So I was like, you know what, let me try it with the TA. Go in, and it was smooth sailing, and then we got to the fire ooze part, and I was like, oh, okay. And then we were like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, and like the ooze will die, and then blame will start being shooting through chat. Oh, you did this. Oh, it's your fault. Oh, you're not hitting the. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like a dysfunctional family. I'm on an episode of The Simpsons. It's like, come on. And then we got through there somehow. We
need to work together.
Yeah, and we prevailed. And then we got to Slick and Sparky, and that was just a headache and a half. Like, I understand I'm a guardian and I'm built for this type of stuff, but I just kept reviving people over and over again, and they would die for stuff that you can easily dodge. If you see an ooze coming towards you, right?
Just kite. You don't even need to dodge.
Just move back. Yeah. Just move back out of the way, like, because it's not even following them. Because in this mechanic, if people don't know, randomly you get pheromones, right? And that person should kite around and then let the ooze suck up the oil off the floor. Right, and it stops the stacks from coming in because if you don't take up the oil off the floor, the stacks increase and you take damage over time. It's kind of like agony, blah blah blah. You know, basically, person who has the pheromones, kite, take up the oil, and sometimes the oil is right next to the boss fight, but people are not paying attention to the ooze, so the ooze will pass right by them and stop and attack them and one hit them. Because of whatever build that they're using, I have no idea. Because everyone on my team was squishy for some reason. And they wouldn't go back and repair. I was like, guys, you got to repair. No, it's fine. And they would just keep dying over and over again. I have to keep reviving them. Like, we barely got one boss down. And I was just like, okay, I've been in here for an hour and 30 minutes. And we haven't even gone through half of the dungeon yet. You know,
oh my God, really?
It's frustrating. No, one other person left, and I was like, I might as well leave.
That's still rage quitting.
I might as well leave too. I might as well leave too, because there was like one only competent person that kind of was getting what was going on, and then everyone else was just like, oh my gosh. But even that person was dying too, like for no reason.
So that was party 1. You said you had 2 failed runs?
Yeah.
Tell me about party 2. What happened?
They just left. As soon as one little hiccup came, like 2-3 people left, and I was like, oh man.
That sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, that's what happens with looking for group tools. That's what I mean. It's not the looking for group tools issue. It's not that their problem. It's the people, really. There's no way to say, okay, we need a certain skill level. You know, like we don't need casual players. You know, not to hack on casual players, but like when you can't just get that you're supposed to dodge. And, you know, like the simplicity of just pressing the V button and dodging out of something out of the way, or just knowing the mechanics of being a level 80 in the game, you know, it's and they don't want to learn either. They don't.
Do you think that that's a little bit of the problem with the game, though, right? That, like, I mean,
because most of the game is easy. Because most of the game is easy, right? And now that there's difficult content, you know, most of the people who just kind of play when a patch comes out, they're like, oh, let's join this. Like, they barely played the game. Like, every month they log in. And then they log in, and it's like, they don't know what to do. And they forgot how to play their character. They're playing an Ellie, but they don't, like, use any of the mobility of the Ellie.
I'm a fire attunement Ellie. And they just never leave fire attunement.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a healer. Let's put on the water.
Oh, my God, yeah, that's a way better example. Oh, my God. But they're trying to. That's a nice little segue. They're trying to. Have you seen? Did we talk about like leaks on this show? Have we decided?
Right. I meant to mention, but we just kind of jumped into the dungeon. So I was like, okay, let's just jump into the dungeon. Yeah, October 15th is gonna be like the whole skill change, and there's been a leak. Not recently, like a month ago, some guy just like raged that was in a closed beta and just like leaked all this stuff. And one of the best things that is coming out of it is prioritizing the boons for your party instead of it just being randomly, you know, people around.
Across all people. There's a lot in those notes. Do you know what I'm really curious about, though? It's been so long since it was all leaked. I wonder whether now a lot of that stuff functionally would have changed, right? I mean, they also did an official blog post on their website where they said, oh, yeah, we're going to make this, and change. And that what they said on the website officially did correspond with what the leak said. But a lot of the stuff in the leak sounds stupidly overpowered. Like, have you heard what they're doing with invulnerability skills?
No.
Well, for like TPVP at the moment, and in World vs. World, you know, capture points, territories. If you're ever invulnerable in one of those, it doesn't count as you capturing the nodes to stop people like just being invulnerable and go lol 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 against, you know, an insane Zerg. But they're changing that. Or these leaks said that they're changing that. All invulnerability skills in the game will now not affect cap points anymore, and that's huge. That for TPVP, like, I have a perfect idea for an incredibly fun. It will be fun, but very very probably overpowered elementalist build. I'd love to run that just stacks tons of invulnerability with other useful bunker aspects to it. And I don't know, like they might have leaked that out, and then everyone's like, oh, hold on, this is stupidly overpowered, and it's been a month. Maybe they'll change stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they do.
Yeah, I mean, when stuff gets leaked, you know, there's this big forum post and everyone's arguing about it, and I'm pretty sure the devs kind of sit there and they listen. They're like, okay, all right, maybe we shouldn't do this. Oh, this guy has a good point, or whatever. Oh, this guy's just trolling.
Well, you'd like to think that.
Ban. Yeah. But yeah, no. But yeah, it's... So I could definitely see like some of the stuff changing, but the last time something was leaked, right? You remember that big skill trait change? Remember last time?
Yeah.
And they buffed like a lot of the stuff, and and it didn't change too many skills around from that. So I don't know. It might be the same.
Speaking of the this is another jumping topic, okay, right? But speaking of the forums, did you see that thing about that ANET dev that was trolling in World vs. World?
No.
So, man, every time I hear about the GVG community, I tweeted this exact statement and I still stand by it. Every time I hear about the GVG community, it's just children throwing mud at each other and just generally being very loud and annoying and complaining. But there was this huge thread, this massive, like, legit controversy. I would describe for Guild Wars 2 like a controversy where, so you know how ArenaNet aren't officially supporting GVGs within World versus World. Like, there's two different things you can be talking about when saying GVGs. People who are asking for GVGs on the forums right now just want to have 20v20, you know, random ball Zerg fest fights, right? GVG, in terms of Guild Wars 1, GVG is a completely different topic. But basically, ArenaNet have never said that they necessarily want to support GVGs. We talked in the previous VisualWood about how Borderlands Bloodlust is making it harder for them to do it. Do you remember?
Right.
And this has got them all a little bit more annoyed. And what happened last week was an ArenaNet dev happened upon who was just playing the game with his like little ArenaNet tag up. I don't know who the dev was. I'm not a part of this really at all, this community. But he was just wandering around, saw two people in a that were about to start a GVG, and obviously they get really concerned. They don't want any random newbies walking around and screwing up the numbers, right? So one team's got 21, one's got, it's got to be a fair fight. So as long as this dev, the dev at in the initial instance didn't have his tag up, I believe that the ArenaNet devs can tag on and off whenever they like. You know, their little ArenaNet symbol. So I think when he originally came across the area, this is just what I deduced from this, he didn't have his tag on, and he was stood there with this GVG that was about to happen. And immediately, because he was stood in that area, and all these players wanted to do their GVG, they all started shouting and being, you know, people on the internet, right? And it's no excuse. I saw loads of comments in this with people talking about it, saying, oh, what's right, what's wrong. Loads of people trying to defend the GVGers, saying, oh, it's the internet. A dev should know what to expect about being on the internet. It doesn't matter. It's not an excuse for you to be a complete wanker to people, okay?
Yeah.
Right? So that's by the by for me. But they were all being, you know, really asshole-ish to this dev and saying, you know, slurring at him. Which,
oh, hold up. Why? Oh, because he was standing there?
Yeah, and they couldn't do their fight. Which obviously got the devs back up. They're a human being, right? And they turned their tag on to be like, I'm a dev kind of thing. What are you doing? But this just spurred them all on. And then they all started being like, oh, none of you devs don't want to have GVG in this game. You're ruining the game, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
Like, just throwing mud at each other. And then the dev was like highly unprofessional, and the dev just stood there trolling them for what seems like a really long period of time. And all the players in the Zergs were just screenshotting over and over and over and over. And like the dev like came out with one particular comment where he said something like, you're ruining my game type or something, which suggested he was an actual World versus World dev as well at the same time. And just it blew up massively. I think in the end they like issued an apology or something. I stopped following it just because it was so depressing to read. But it's ridiculous.
People on the internet have so much balls, okay? To just sit there and just like, okay, I don't agree with this part of the game, so I'm gonna complain directly to them. You know that affects them, right? You know those are real people behind those characters, right? I don't understand how people just don't think about that. And it's the same thing as YouTube. It's like when you leave a comment, you know we read it, right? Like it's just like, come on.
Even
like,
outside of the videos,
you could have respectfully said to him, like, can you please add this into the game or whatever like that. You know, that you don't have to say please if you don't want to, but I'm just saying, like, I wonder what, I don't even want to know what they said to him, really, because, man.
The worst thing about all of this is the way it appeared on the forums is just obviously already biased players that took the screenshot saying, look, this dev was trolling us, and then they just post a bunch of images of local chat with the dev being an unprofessional fool, basically. But he can't be blamed for anything more than being unprofessional. But because of the way that this forum thread started off, all you had is a load of uninformed people going into the thread and reading it and seeing a dev acting like a jackass, basically.
Just by standing there, that's all he did?
No. He started once because originally he wasn't tagged up, so this Zerg of people were, you know, just treating him like anyone else. He tagged up, and then he was. I don't think the dev is blameless at all. And then the dev really was inciting them and typing stuff at them in chat and like throwing just as much as the kids were, kind of thing. So, but the sad thing to me about all of this was, everyone involved here is a human being. People forget that. But I do think the devs should have been a bit more professional. But the entire forum thread rapidly spiraled out of control with all these negative Nancy's, these people just saying, oh, this just shows why this game is just terrible. None of the devs care.
Why play it then? Why do they play?
This is destined to fail. I'm quitting over this. This is absolutely disgraceful. This is the most professional misconduct I've ever seen in my life. Blah, 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 blah. For pages and pages and pages, dude. It was crazy.
Wow.
It's one of those things.
How many posts were on there?
Oh, there were a lot of pages.
Thousands?
Yeah, definitely. Half of the comments were, oh, this is terrible. And the other half of the comments were, the mods are going to close this thread and ban and delete everyone that's been complaining in 3, 2, 1 kind of thing. Because, you know, that is I feel like that is another problem on the forums as well. Nobody trusts to be able to speak their own opinion. And that's because most people speaking their opinions out there
are trolly.
They think that they're facts, you know, and they're incredibly aggressive about what they believe, and they blah 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 blah. So, you know, I think it's a mess. It's a real mess. Official forums and stuff.
That's whenever I say something about Guild Wars 2, it's like, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that. That's just my opinion on something, and I often say at the end of the video, oh, let me know if you disagree or agree with me. This is not fact. It's never been fact. You know, it's just like my opinion on the game. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the game. And Guild Wars 2, most than a lot of games I play, like everyone's just like, oh man, Guild Wars 2 is such a good game, but this, oh, just this. And everyone has their own little about Guild Wars 2. And I could definitely see that. And some people are GVGs, and they seem to be very, very motivated to keep it in the game somehow.
It was never supported. It was never said to be supported. There's some really early interviews where ArenaNet say, oh, there will be GVG, blah, blah, blah. But this was before they transformed GVG into constructed PvP, TPvP, and the Heart of the Mists. And that's always meant to be that side of the game, rather than... World versus World to them was always meant to be imbalanced, about massive fights and stuff. And I think that they're not necessarily against it. This is just my opinion, my like layman opinion as someone from way on the outside. I don't think they are against it. I just think if they want to support it, they want to like proper put effort in it and make it a real feature, rather than just adding tiny bits of convenience around everything else. Like, for now, I agree, like with the Borderlands Bloodlust, I agree that they just focus on the core regular World versus World experience before catering to these tiny little communities. I really do, so which is why I stand more by what they're doing at the moment than those as a part of the community. But
all right,
I want to us.
Yeah, we're talking about World versus World. All right, so I want to go back to the dungeon, right? So
all right.
I gotta say I enjoyed the dungeon, right? As a dungeon, I enjoyed it. Every dungeon that comes out, I feel like I'm starting to think that this is not the content for me. Dungeons, specifically dungeons, because I do like the challenge, and most of the time I like the dungeon. This one I liked particularly well because it was paced well. It was the mechanics were good for the boss fights. It was hard. It wasn't easy at all. And but you know, with organized, like for me, I had like 4 people of the 5 on Mumble, and it was a lot easier than it was with the Pug group. Definitely a lot easier because you just couldn't coordinate wherever you want, right? So my problem is when we got to the end, after the first time we ran it was an hour and about 2 hours to finish it, right?
Yeah,
we died a few times.
Yeah,
I was very disappointed. Just like every long dungeon that they put out, or any content that they put out, and the rewards are blues and greens. We got the key, right? The key that you have to get 5 pieces.
Yeah.
Also a green. Why would I spend 2 hours on a dungeon just to get blues and greens? Yes, magic, fine. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, I can buy that out of the game. All right. Why should I do this other than something else?
Because it's new, and because you haven't had the opportunity.
That means I only do it once, and I do my achievements, and I never come back again.
Yeah, and that's a real deficit with it at the moment. And I've got to say, I think I'm in the same spot as well. Like, I finished it and I had the majority of the achievements. I had enough to get the meta, and I'm not really planning on going in there anytime soon. Honestly, I'm not really. The thing with me, I feel like the dungeon is in a weird middle zone where if it was harder, if it was much harder than it currently is, I would find it fascinating and I would love like finding 4 solid guys and be like, look, let's theory craft, let's figure out how to do this, let's get really far. I would love that. If it was really difficult, I wouldn't care about rewards at all after that. Some recognition that maybe I'd managed to do it, you know, not necessarily world first, but just that we were one of the few groups to manage to get through. If it was that hard, then it's interesting content to me. And then, yeah, it's also replayable in that situation to me too, as long as they had like something really rare right at the end, like, you know, like what they did with Mini to Quattle. But as it stands, it's like, it's a bit of a struggle to get through. It's mostly a time sink.
Yeah.
And you get out and you're like, okay, yeah, it was all right. Some cool mechanics, sure. But does that really mean anything?
Yeah. It's, I don't know, like all right, we solve like a good solution for Tequado, right? How Tequado's just kind of there now, and you kill it, and no one wants to kill it anymore because why? Why would we kill it? You know, like I understand RNG ascended weapons, yay! You know that's great, but the thing is when you don't feel the urge anymore. It often just goes in the back of your mind. Oh, Tequado's there, but really no one's there when you go and get it. That's why the message board would be a lot better. But the thing is, you need a community for it, right? But because there isn't a community for it, you don't know where where all the other people are to really that want to defeat Tequado. You don't know where they are. You don't know what time they're doing it. You don't know what server to get on. You don't know where they are, so you can't kind of group those people together. But for those people who are interested, but they, you know, they're kind of half like, oh, ascended weapons, that's pretty cool, but why? You know, there's only a chance, and you know, I don't want to I don't want to group up with nobody because I don't know where to go for that. Like, I feel like it's the Tequado syndrome, the same thing with this dungeon. It's like you go in, it's just like the rewards, RNG, why? I don't feel like doing it anymore. You know, it's just...
I think one sort of interesting
the Tequado syndrome.
One thing that sort of drags along... the older this game gets, the more and more, and as long as it sticks with, you know, this cosmetic angle, right? There are drops, but they're all cosmetic. I think one thing to consider is the older the game gets, the less people are going to be incentivized by skins because they've probably already got the most awesome thing they can conceive of on their character. Do you know what I mean? Like, after we've been playing for so long, none of the new Twilight skins really stand out to me because
we have legendaries. What's the point?
Well, even if I didn't have a legendary, I might have a sunless weapon, or I might have, you know, any number of these
Volcanus, all those things. Yeah.
So I think that does limit it slightly. Now, of course, the one easy solution to that would be to encourage people to run ults, but everyone knows that Guild Wars 2, most MMOs, let's be honest, everyone that complains, oh, this game is so punishing on my ult, yeah, it's an MMO, okay, it comes with the territory, but you know, that said, it is a game punishing on ults, so their best solution for that would be, I'll encourage people to do it more, but they're sort of in a catch-22. So I think that is something interesting, and that might be having an effect. Like, think about this, if it was launch, and this new weapon set came out, and the slick pack came out and stuff, I think I probably would be very, very excited about going in and getting those skins, personally, because there wouldn't be too much else that I would have gone for already, and there wouldn't have been that variety out there as it already stands. Like, not even thinking about Black Lion stuff, right? I mean, geez, fused weapons, there's so much out there. So for me, I'm just like, Twilight stuff looks okay.
Yeah, but for the old players, like, I understand a lot of new players are coming into Guild Wars 2, but what about the old players? Like, this stuff really doesn't intrigue me. Like, I enjoyed playing the dungeon the first time, but I have no will to go back in there again, right? And gather like a group, because I will not be going in there using the LFG tool. I'm sorry. It's a very useful tool and very quick. You see how parties just keep going quickly. Like, you have to click really fast in order to get inside any party. And if you click too fast and you don't get let in, you get automatically banned. Has that ever happened to you?
No. No.
Not banned from like the game, but like banned from like joining any other parties. And I was trying to join this one that said, "Oh, you have to have Mumble." And I was trying to get in there. I was like, "No, I want that one because I want to be on Mumble because I just got with a terrible group." So, but yeah, like what I think is if they're gonna add like the super hard stuff, right? Add a really hard dungeon like you were talking about, like 5-man. You want a theory craft, you want to get involved with it, but then add a reward that's not RNG. Have some you could have some RNG rewards in there, but add something that's not RNG that is worth something. We have the wallet now, so don't complain about currency. Add another dang currency and let it be a bit of currency, like 1 token or something like that, right? And you have to really learn the dungeon and pretty much defeat it over and over again. Get those tokens. Use that token to get these high-end rewards, whether it be ascended weapons or something that everyone really wants, right? Well, not everyone, but the most of the community is like, oh man, we have to get that. That is something so rare that only the people who run it constantly or, you know, pretty much master the dungeon can get.
Yeah, like
and they could spiderweb that with other hard dungeons as well that they add into the game, right? If they add a level 80 path to like every dungeon in the game, right? And all these level 80 path have this one currency and it's like really low, like 1 token, you know, for something, and then they kind of scale it to the rewards. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think at launch Arena had a much better their end game in terms of dungeons. Dungeons are not the only end game. I can't stress that enough. But and we both know that.
Yeah.
But in terms of dungeons, their end game was much stronger at launch, I think, because first of all, that sense of difficulty was there. Yeah, it was all unbalanced, and the implementation was shoddy, and it still is in a lot of paths. But it was difficult. But the other thing was, do you remember right at launch? How like little tokens you could get before they did that first ever revamp?
Yeah.
Like people with COF armor in like the first couple of weeks, that was pretty cool to see someone with COF, because that was so many tokens and so much like effort into that dungeon. And you knew that people that were doing that really knew COF at that time, and the same for all the other armors too.
And before with Ara as well, Ara was pretty hard for the regular person, and people who had full Ara, they were like, "Dang, you did Ara that many times, dang!" Yeah.
And I think they made a big mistake making upping the tokens so much. And I know that that's exactly the kind of thing that the community was outcrying for, but I think that sometimes you have to stand your ground and stuff like that. I really do. And I keep talking. I've been reading comments on the VisualWoods, and people I think to listen to myself, I ask for much more hardcore features and stuff rather than casual stuff. But I think, as someone that wants to have this game as a mainstay and play it all the time, then this is the stuff that is most exciting to me.
Exactly.
And more less tokens was so good. I loved that. And also the other thing I was going to say about in terms of replayability on dungeons, ArenaNet had some nice concepts and ideas about what makes can make dungeons replayable. Using their dynamic event system, some of the earlier stuff they were talking about that they wanted to do for dungeons was that you may have to repeat it loads and loads and loads of times, but we're going to use loads of dynamic events, guys, that will randomly spawn in there. You never quite know which combination of dynamic events you're going to get, and that changes your experience of that dungeon path every time you do it. And their implementation, and that's a really sound idea, that's a really good idea, but their implementation on it in the end just meant, bonus events, right? The cave troll might spawn in Ascalon Catacombs if you're lucky every now and then. That guy might spawn in COF on that bridge on path 1 if you're lucky. And that was sort of it, and it falls really short. I'd love to see, if they want to go back to sort of making good dungeons, look back at what they were originally thinking of, because I think they had some real gold there. They just didn't implement it right. Real bonus events that change sections, like whole corridors that you go down, and more of them, so it really is this mixed bag. There are 10 potential ones that come up, which ones are you going to get on your run through kind of thing. I think that would be far more exciting.
By the way, a good example to what you were talking about with the 5-man having it extremely hard, but you want to do it because you want to beat it, right? But you don't really get a good reward at the end. A good example of that is the clock tower, right? you knew you weren't gonna get like the best thing when you went up there. Well, basically what we got was a slipper, right? A exotic slipper. Like, who cares? But the feeling you get when you finally beat the clock tower is amazing, and it's a load off, right? Some people don't like it, right? Some content are not for everyone. Just like I said, the dungeon is probably not for me. A lot of you guys probably enjoy that, but for me, I don't see the point of going back in there. And I feel like if they could kind of replicate what the clock tower is, you know, into a dungeon, that would be quite interesting.
See, here's the thing. This is why I say it's middle ground, right? It's middle ground because it's nowhere near hard enough to be like the clock tower.
Right.
But it's also too hard for me to just fancy going in and running through for the enjoyment of the mechanics.
Right.
It's too hard for that because there's too much risk there for that. It's like in the worst spot for me. It's sort of like, it's just a bit too hard for me to really want to do that again. But it's nowhere near hard enough for it to have been thrilling to have got through. It's in that weird spot where if you wipe on it, you're not like, oh, this is really hard, I really want to get back in there. You're more like, oh, for God's sake, we've wiped. Now we have to run
because
all the way back there.
Ooze is a perfect example of that. It's just like, oh, dang it, like that stupid fire elemental attacked one more time and, you know, killed the ooze right at the edge. You're like, you know what?
Yeah,
you know what? Forget it. Forget it. You just walk right off. Just like, forget that. I'm done. You know, and the ooze is like right there in the beginning, so it's just easy just to rage quit right at that part. Oh my gosh. It's I don't know, man. Like it's missing that feeling of getting that rare piece, you know, just like back then with the legendary. I was so focused on getting a legendary. I got defocused sometimes, but I was really focused like every day, like legendary. I have that goal. Now I feel like I don't have that goal, you know, fractals, all those other end game stuff that mostly people are doing now. I don't feel for it. And a lot of people are in World v World, you know, that's their thing. A lot of people, you know, have their main thing that they do. I feel like I don't have that main thing that I do. Only thing I like to do is make money. Really right now in Guild Wars 2 and play the patches, of course. I love like every 2 weeks there's something new. Farming. I can't imagine if they didn't do those 2-month patches. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would be still like excited about Guild Wars 2 if those patches weren't coming out. So I think they did a good
with the frequency of them.
The frequency of it, yeah, because
yeah, like that's something curious too. I see a lot around, more and more and more, that they're bringing out patches too quickly. There's too quick to the patches are too quick. I can't play it all. I've got all this stuff going on. It's too quick. And like that is just a side of the community. I can't get behind, I guess, at the moment. But you know, I can totally understand why, you know, people getting fucking, you know, really going into their careers and getting families and, you know, making babies and stuff. And it's like, oh, I've got to find time for Guild Wars 2, but it's about 3 patches and I've only just blinked. I can see that, you know. But then the other side of the coin is, you know, you're trying to keep a solid core audience invested in the title, and I think the 2-week patches are really solid for that, definitely.
All right, so questions already?
Oh, is there anything else to talk about from this patch or this week? Have you had anything else going on?
We could mention again that the weapons that you get from that dungeon is also exotic. So just mention it again. It's exotic. That like we care about exotics anymore. But yeah, which is a bad thing, right? Which is the bad thing that everyone hates. Is that now the extended weapons are out. Who cares about exotics? Like, shoot.
It would see there should be an avenue in the game to directly like turn in your exotics for ascended. You know, like how in the Mystic Forge you can put 4 rares in and get an exotic out, very low chance. They should expand that functionality of the Mystic Forge so that keeps exotic relevant again beyond just Ectos. I think that would be pretty solid if that would keep people excited about it. I think that's I
think they have to do like a definitely change to it, like you were saying, especially like how they did the blues and greens with the magic find. They should make exotic something tied to something, you know? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, okay, let's go for the questions then. We have got 7 questions for today. As long as we didn't already answer them, and we might have to skip them. 0 is from Lily Starflame. What's the most annoying mechanic in Guild Wars 2? Also, X or Y? Oh, is that a Pokemon question?
Yeah, I decided to add it in there. I'm getting X. I Yeah, I'm gonna go off topic for a second. I'm getting
careful of spoilers. Careful of spoilers. If it's for the Pokemon that's in it, people may have to skip ahead.
No, there's no spoilers in Pokemon.
There are. People don't like to know what Pokemon there are that are being released in the next gen.
Well, no. I'm just saying that I'm getting X, and I bit the bullet or gave in to get the 3DS, and actually the 3DS is quite good. The 3D effect. No, I just got the regular one. Dude, the XL just makes the picture wide. You know the resolution doesn't get bigger, right? You start seeing jagged edges. Yeah, but a lot of it's like
pixely games anyway, right? So
yeah, but jagged edges? You want to see? I don't like to see jagged edges.
I don't care about jaggies. I want a bigger screen, man. You know, it's like 80% bigger or something. It's huge.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I still think about it. I'm like, maybe I should probably get the XL.
You made a mistake.
But it's like, it's only $30 more, too. I don't know, man.
Yeah, you made a mistake. You should have gone with the XL.
Oh, shh.
It's ruined.
All right. No, it's fine. Ruined. I like it small anyway. I like it to fit in my pocket.
That's what
I like it to fit in the pocket. But yeah, I'm getting Pokemon X. I'm probably going to be in midnight launch, and you're probably not going to see me for 2-3 months because I'm going to be playing Pokemon. But what is the most annoying...
Hold on. I got an answer to this as well.
Oh, really?
I don't have the console, but I am a fan. I will be playing it eventually. I'm going for X, and I am going to spoil it. I'm going for X because of Mega Charizard X.
Yes!
Oh my god, dude.
Woo!
Oh my god! It's amazing! So I'm going to be doing that.
Charizard is one of my favorite from the series, like the original anime series, so... I have to get him. So I was gonna pick Y before because some of my friends were getting X. So I was like, I'll pick Y so we can trade or whatever. Like,
Yveltal is pretty cool. The legendary from Y, I think. I prefer.
Well, I like the deer though. I like the deer. That's the thing. It's like it reminds me of a spirit or whatever. I forgot what spirit. Minokuni. I think there's a spirit in Minokuni. But a lot of spirits are deers.
Oh my god, no. That looks like that thing in one of the Studio Ghibli films. Why are we talking about anime again?
Yes.
Princess Mononoke has a deer thing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, but hold up. Now you made me confused of what game I was talking about.
Minokuni.
It's made by Studio Ghibli. They worked on it.
Oh
on
yeah,
the animation.
Isn't it? It's a game made by them.
That's why they have a lot of references and stuff like that inside of it. But yeah. Most annoying mechanic in Guild Wars 2. You go ahead, because
right now, okay, this is not a real answer to this question. Right now, the most annoying mechanic for me is the experimental rifle guns that give you a 900 targeted jump shot. Right, I've been breaking out a lot of maps recently and having a blast doing it, but most of it relies on that weapon, and it has like a 33% chance to just blow up in your face and knock you back. And it is the most infuriating, annoying, rage-inducing thing I have ever experienced in this game. Like, you will, like, when it backfires 3 times in a row, and every time it's been, like, a really clutch place where if it backfires, it's knocked you, like, a mile down off of a ledge or something. It just makes you want to tear your face off. It is the most annoying thing in the world. So... yeah, for me, there's loads of answers to that question, but that's the most,
there is loads
prominent one in my mind right now.
I think I have a list somewhere, but for some reason I can't think of any.
Oh, well, just have a look on your forum post history on the official forums, and it's just, I don't like this mechanic. I don't like this mechanic.
So many mechanics. Like, oh my gosh.
You could probably just go random page on the official forums right now and get an answer to this question.
Probably. I mean, the one I can think of is the one that they're fixing, which is basically when you put your boons out, it doesn't go to your party members. It goes to like everyone else, like especially in Zerg Comic. Zerg Combat is just such a mess right now, and that would greatly improve that. I can't think of like many of them that I have.
I'll give you another one. I'll give another answer. This one is infuriating in PvP. Rangers are overpowered when they are downed. Their skill 2 is ridiculously overpowered. It hits twice, so it's going to pop stuff like Arcane Shield. It's almost instant activation. It's AoE interrupt, which is just way more powerful than what most stuff is anyway. Just on
that's
the skill
just balancing, though. That's not really a mechanic, is it?
No. Here's the mechanic. The mechanic's coming in a second. The skill 3... Rangers, okay, here's a part of it. Rangers can still pet swap while they're down, which is stupid. But their skill 3 is ridiculously overpowered because it reses them so fast. But there's a mechanic in the game where if your pet is dead and you go, this is very specific, this situation, but I hated it when it happened to me, okay? The ranger's pet is dead, he's pet swapped, okay? So he's got like a living pet, right? And the other one's dead. Now he goes down, right? He pet swaps from down to res his other pet. I'm also down. So I try and CC the pet away, but because he's just rezzed it up, it's invulnerable. So I can't fear it away, and then he just rezzes. It's so OP, and just giving rangers an invulnerable pet that will just freely res them so fast is just... And it's something they obviously didn't think of, and it's so annoying. I hated that as well. That made me rage. You got any others?
No, I can't believe I'm blank. I cannot believe I'm blank. Other than the mechanic of the rewards and all these dungeons, yeah, I'm fine.
What do you think about, like, I think this is a necessary thing, but a lot of people don't like that you get slowed down when you're in combat, and it's like annoying.
Oh, gosh, I hate it.
There we go.
Oh, my gosh, I do, because, like, don't you know when you make a big jump in jumping puzzles, and you get in combat, and you forget about it? Or and as soon as you jump, or you get hit in midair and you just slow down in midair and you fall to your death.
Or SAB, that's fun. SAB, where it gives you a random speed boost after your combat thing to like try and make up for it, and then you just overshoot a jump like by a mile. Yeah.
It's really annoying. I get why it's in there, because you don't want people to like kind of just run away, you know, when they're getting hit and stuff like that, and you know it'll make elementalists and all those guys who have mobility just like OP at running away. And thieves, oh my gosh, they'll get away from you. There'll be no way to stop them. And I know why it's there. But it's still an annoying mechanic. But yeah, let's go to the next one.
Well, it uniformly slows everyone down. I don't think it's necessarily that. It's more like everyone's already really mobile in combat anyway, and it's already like so fluid. Like I think just dragging everyone uniformly down, particularly from a PvP perspective, does enable a lot more like clutch Phoenix spikes and stuff would just be way harder, and just real plays like that just wouldn't function so well. But there are some stupid things like that I do agree with that sort of sucks. It's like Necromancer Warhorn. Oh, I want to use this to get swiftness, but now if I walk anywhere near something, you
get into combat.
Yeah. So, you know, there are little things like that, definitely, that I agree.
Running away. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, what if they just remove it? What if they remove it? Like, how... It would greatly change gameplay.
It would. Like, World versus World as well, a big problem at the moment is it's so easy to move around that map so quickly, and, like, to change that as well would be... There's some circumstances where maybe it shouldn't hurt you. Like, maybe if you've taken full damage, then the movement speed penalty shouldn't affect you, because I can't see really how that's doing anything aside from annoying people. But maybe they just have no way in the engine to differentiate between the two scenarios. Do you know what I mean?
That might be it, yeah.
All right, anyway, okay, next question. Mina fed the unicorns?
Yeah.
This lucky person has had a couple of questions. Are you in favor of having a second trait tree? Either a separate one for underwater battles with special underwater traits, or just a second one you could switch to in PvE. I don't know. I don't think it'd be a good idea for PvP. I thought about this when I was leveling my second guard with a very defensive build, and I realised how much of a pain it is to play regular PvE without a party when your damage is too low. Yeah. So what do you think?
This will be cool. I don't think they would do it, but I would like a second trait tree, just like in general as well. But let me get to...
What are we talking about? Like a second trait page, like a build swap?
Wasn't a question a second trait tree just for underwater?
Yes, yeah, that is a part of it, yes.
Yeah. So, like, I would like, in general, just have another way to level up my character, like a tree, maybe. Like, you know, how you spend points and stuff like that, how like they have the traits to something totally different for like maybe passives or something, and they kind of just revamp everything. I would love that. But for underwater only, I don't think they would do that, but it would be cool to see a revamp to underwater in that way. I think they would just add it into the traits in general, like underwater stuff, or maybe they could do a trait tree but very small. And won't be a trait tree, maybe. I don't like, I'm thinking about it, and like What, improve movement speed, improve damage, and stuff like that. I don't see how it would work really, like, unless they add a lot more content for
it would be a matter
because there's no content really for it, and no one enjoys it. So them spending time on it would be kind of difficult, you know, to do.
Yeah.
Other than other stuff that they have to work on.
I think adding another trait tree would be a big part of improving underwater combat. I think I mentioned this. It was either last VisualWood or the one before that. This exact idea. I think an extra trait tree would go a long way. I think all the pieces are in place for underwater combat. It's just it needs that little bit of extra looking at, and to like the balance of it tends to feel a little bit off quite often. I feel like it takes a little bit too long to kill people. A lot of the skills feel incredibly spammy.
That's what I said. You said it didn't happen for you.
I think while I'm leveling, like, it's not an incredible, like, I cannot kill this guy. It's a bit...
Dailies are a drag, too. Oh, underwater killing. Like,
I've got a perfect place for that. You can go to Wayfarer Foothills, and you can go to, like, I don't know how I describe to you the area. It's like, it's one of the rivers on the bottom right. Not the bottom right, but sort of a third of the way up. It's perfect. It's amazing. There's a great place there. No, I think it does take a little bit longer to kill stuff underwater. Yeah, I agree. Not so much, though, especially not while leveling. I mean, sort of like later on. Like, you think about a lot, especially like when you come across a vet or something. Think about Mount Maelstrom. There's that skill point where you have to fight that Lagos in the cave, like in the molten cave. So, oh, geez. And then there's a heart quest there as well where you have to... But I think that's more a problem with the heart quest itself, necessarily. Anyway, yeah, I think that would be something for...
And a lot of the skills don't work. A lot of the traits don't work underwater. A lot of the elite skills don't work underwater. And also, like, it's so different from land, right? Like in land, you really have to dodge, you have to use mobility, and, you know, like, especially with the elementalists, you could easily just get out the way, and you know, especially with like dagger, for instance, and you could just like kind of like move around a lot. In the water, you're like stationary, like you're just there, and you have to take all the hits. You know, you can't, like, you have 2 dodges, and that's it. You know, and it's just like, I know it's meant to be different, but I mean, compared to land, it's just, well, I'd rather be on land. You know, it needs to change totally. It needs to be something totally different.
I think another big element that screws over underwater combat at the moment is, and it almost uniformly ruins Guild Wars 2 for me, but skill effects. I think they always had the wrong stance with skill effects. This idea, every skill should be super visceral, and you should see, like, it was obvious that was just going to become a complete mess after a while, and it's really bad underwater even to this day. Even with all these culling effects and stuff, I'm still not happy with it at all. But underwater is really bad too. There's a lot of really cool nuanced skills underwater, like on Ellie. We have a wall. We have like a guardian wall in water achievement, but it's just sort of useless because of the way the combat works. So I always just like explode it. I can detonate it any time and just blow it up. Like, there's a lot of really weird, cool skills going on, but it's not worth going underwater to practice them. To be honest, at the moment, it's really not.
Right. Next question.
Yeah, next question. Direct Zone says, at WP, while something like Guild Wars 2 stuff should be implemented in the game, it's then still easier to just alt-tab to the website instead of going to the same NPC. The heralds sort of have that function for Living World, but who uses them? I'm not sure I understand this. What did you make of the question?
All right, so basically don't you know when you log into Guild Wars 2, you get that little mail, right? That says, new event here, right? No one knows exactly what's going on in Guild Wars 2. What you have to do is go to the release page, right? The one that we all look at every time, and with all the Scarlet stuff. He's saying that it really, like, who uses the heralds? The heralds was supposed to solve that issue, but I mean, I've never used it since it came out. I go to the website to actually see everything that's going on in the game. There's no other way to do it. In game, you basically hear it from word of mouth or something like that. I mean, like, how would you know, like, that they came out with new, I don't know, trait changes or whatever? You want to know that within the mail that they send you in game.
Yeah, I think for the amount of stuff they want, this is totally off topic from the question, but I'll get back to it. For the amount of stuff they want to do with the mail system, how it's basically replacing traditional quests, and it's informing everyone about patches and doing this, and it's helping you with all the hearts, and it's helping you through your personal. For the amount of stuff that they want the mail system to achieve, it is too rudimentary in the amount of characters it can send, and just the general formatting things you can do with it. Right, mail would be way better if they could send you a mail that basically was that release page with screenshots on it and, links and stuff, that would be awesome. And then maybe we'd see, more improvements there. But it's so far from that right now. I think mail's always needed a big revamp. And in fact, no, I don't think they should be using mail for this stuff at all. I think they should just suck it up and start implementing some form of traditional quests. But that's like a whole different argument. No,
You've seen a couple games like when you log in and it will just show you like basically an event page of what's going on
the patch screen.
That would go well with the message board. Like that could be part of the message board. This would be like a new part of the UI, that you can change. Hopefully, please make changes to the UI and make me toss and turn stuff if I want to. Like just have like a message board at the right hand corner below the map or near like your quest thing, and just have like, a new event is in Guild Wars 2, and it just brings up this whole event page in your in-game client, and it will be right next to the message board, which also like, we're all going to have a naked party in Lion's Arch. We're going to do GVGs, or
Pink Day in LA is coming up.
Yeah, it's just like it encourages community and encourages meeting other people. And the event page will tell everyone what's going on, especially if someone who doesn't surf the internet, who doesn't look on the Guild Wars 2 release pages, who just logs in randomly, can log into the game and says, oh, wow, there's events going on, right? And then this is where everyone's at. Oh, there's a one-time only event going on right now. Let's all go. That little marker on the top right-hand corner, I don't think it's really enough for some people, especially some new people getting used to the game.
I
would like to see something like that.
The thing he's saying with the question as well is, last week I had a suggestion where I said GW2 stuff, for people that didn't listen last week, it's a third-party app you can get which tells you all the meta events that are currently going on in the game, and that allows you to hop around the metas, and you can earn quite a lot of gold. It's a big part of the end game in the game. I suggested that they implement something like this actually in-game through NPCs you can speak to in-game, and they can even take that opportunity to put those NPCs in the order hideouts to give people a reason to visit their orders after they hit level 80, and it actually makes it feel like that decision you made has impact somewhere. This person is saying, why do that? Because people can always still just go to gw2stuff.com, and then that's more convenient than having to go to the Dermot Priory every time. And I think you have a valid point. That's why last week, I didn't want to get into it too much, and I won't this week either, but that's why I suggested last week maybe they should tie something like a reputation faction into it as well. The more of these meta events you complete while representing your order, like the Dermot Priory, the more points the more like tokens you get, which gives you exclusive skins or titles or eventual stuff. I've always been a big fan of competition, so the way I'd implement it is I'd be like, okay, you have like a leaderboard for the top players of the Dermot Priory who have done the most events under the Dermot Priory, blah blah blah, stuff like that, and then that gives people a reason to actually visit the place because they can't get this representation buff or whatever from the NPC. Actually forcing people to go to the NPC is sort of an arbitrary element of it. I think even without doing that, it would have some use. But yeah, that would sort of be my answer to that, and I think it would be such a good thing for the game. Yeah, man, if just those two things would be added. Right, question 3. We're only on question 3? Really? Okay. Killchain says, my question is, would you like to see more oh no, we're on question 4, because the first one was labeled question 0. My question is, would you like to see more drive towards the Elder Dragons, and specifically which Elder Dragon do you think will be the next evil one we fight or have to deal with? Kralkatorrik? New underwater one, Bubbles, Morgemoth, etc.? Do you want to I want to hear you take a crack at this one.
Oh, well, I'm not much of a lore guy, so yeah. So you're best to answer this one. This one's for you. I picked this one for you.
You're not even going. Okay. All right. I think I think, for me personally, I don't care about the Elder Dragons. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't care about them. I find them boring villains. I think they offer a cinematic fight at best. Otherwise, I find them boring. Unless ArenaNet tap a lot more into the elements of the Elder Dragons that actually show them to be intelligent. Like, half the time ArenaNet are telling us, oh, they're just elemental storms, they're akin to, you know, a tornado, blah, blah, blah. And then the other half of the time, they're telling us that they're really strategically minded and smart things. Like, Edge of Destiny's got a lot of interesting stuff where Snaf goes into the mind of Kralkatorrik. And, during the game at launch, Guild Wars 2, while we're fighting Zaitan, there's a lot of, you know, strategic stuff that you can see that Zaitan and his minions are doing, bringing bodies in from other, like, areas of the world on their big ships and, you know, feeding on the magical artifacts and stuff. Like, there is an element to the Elder Dragons that could make them compelling, and I will only find them compelling if ArenaNet really start paying more attention to that and make the dragons feel more threatening. Like, the other big problem with the dragons right now is they are sort of just sitting around waiting for us to do something, it feels like. Like, I'm not worried about any elder dragons attacking us ever, really. It's more we're taking the fight to them. And I think, and they tried in the personal story to make it like, oh, Zaitan has perfectly personally affected us, you know, he's killed people that we know, blah blah blah, but it always fell short because they just did too many characters and there were many problems there. But until the Elder Dragons are stepping into my territory and damaging Tyria as I know it, and they are shown as more intelligent and nuanced enemies, I keep using that word lately, but until that, I don't care about Elder Dragons. All that said, I think probably, at least when they were designing Guild Wars 2, I think they envisaged Jormag to be the next one we fight, because there are a lot of suggestions late game through the personal story in Guild Wars 2 where it's Jormag this, Jormag that, Jormag this, Jormag that, and even like right at the end in that final bit with the personal story, right at the end, I think there is a reference, like one of the Norn is like, maybe we will reclaim our homelands in the far Shiver Peaks against Jormag, or something like that. Like, there's a lot of hints around Jormag, so I think maybe that was their original idea. But now, like, we all know how directionless they are and where they want to go from here. So that might have changed.
You know, like, this is slightly off topic, but I feel like to give Elder Dragons more like, oh, like they exist, because I feel like they don't exist, right? I feel like, oh, Zaitan, you know, like, we all don't like the Zaitan fight. Like, Elder Dragons already have a sour taste in our mouth. Like, I feel like we don't know that they're there. Like, people still think the Claw of Jormag is Jormag, right?
Yeah, that like, winds me up.
Like, no one, like, if we there's no sense that they're there. Like, there's no, a perfect example, the Tengu, right? People are so interested in the Tengu, right? Reason why is that when you're walking around, you see this humongous wall, like, in the maps.
Yes.
And you see, like, a couple Tengu in the doors. How amazing is that? How amazing is that? Cool. Like, it's like, sometimes I go there and I look at it just for the sake of it and just looking like, man, is it something I missed? Like, I want to see, like, any secrets or something like that. Like, it just looks so cool. Like, it's this mysterious thing, and when that expansion comes out, it's gonna be epic. Everyone's gonna get a chance to go in there and see what this world looks like, because if you say one thing about Guild Wars 2 has a beautiful, like, landscapes, right?
Yes,
and it feels amazing. The environment feels amazing. And still to this day, when I was doing my monthlies, I go to Kaladin Forest and I'm like, man, this looks really cool. But, like, yeah. Anyways, but
no, like, we were talking about the Elder Dragons, and you had a good point that the Elder Dragons don't offer that wall, you know.
That wall is like, oh, you're not intrigued to know about the Elder Dragons.
Then what's your response to the brand?
Right. Like, other than, of course, like, the easiest way to do this would be, like, make them fly in the air or something like that, or, like, to the corner, or see them sometimes go onto a hill that you could never reach way off into, like, another side, or have something blocked somehow, a wall. I know they can't do this for every single area, for every single Elder Dragon, you know, in every single, like, side of the map or whatever, but, like, for instance, in Frostgore Sound, have some type of, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say wall, but some type of city or something in the back. All right, you know, another example, the Wizard Tower, right? I remember listening to that video that you made with the Wizard Tower. It's right there. Right there. Right? And you just look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, what is that? You're so intrigued. They need to add something like that. I don't know what, other than, you know, the flying
I've got
dragon.
a pretty good
but
idea of what.
Right.
I think there are a lot of things. Like, I would make a much darker story with a lot more twists and turns if I had anything to do with the living story. I think the greatest thing they could do with the living story is just randomly, like, one of these patches. I'm Scarlet. I'm doing all of this stuff. Splat. Jormag's just appeared.
Yes.
Jormag has just appeared, and she's just dead. And then Jormag's just like absolutely destroyed one of the areas, you know, like Queensdale or something. It's just
and it's all in flames.
And it just suddenly happens during a living story thing. And there's no preamble from it on Arena. There's no tales. It just happens. And with data miners and stuff, that'd be very difficult. But if you had loads of players like suddenly just experience that, and this would require something more akin to the Karka event, which we all know was a massive failure. But if they could experience something like that, that would immediately get me far more interested and invested in the dragon. If it was very cinematic and if it, you know, they had some real plausibility behind it, I think that would be just one thing straight away that would get people excited about the Elder Dragons again. Definitely.
You know something from the old trailers and the old gameplay videos? I thought that the Shatter event, that when he came, that the world would change into that dark pasty, into the brand. I thought the world automatically changed to that when we failed an event or something like that. I didn't know that it was just automatically like that. I didn't know that. Of course, that's you know, that's more, you know, easier said than done.
Well,
but like, I thought it had a big change to the world. I would love to see like a new area that the dragon would like create a line of fire like on the floor towards the town or something like that, and if you don't stop him, he like burns the town. And this town has shops, this town has all that, and all the NPCs die, and it all is in flame, and you have to go there and you have to rebuild the town. You have to take water buckets and take out the fires and stuff like that, and then fight him again, right? At his lair or something like that.
Features like that, I think, could be very strong, but I think features like that only work if they're on a very long time scale. If that town's getting nuked 6 times a day, I don't care about it after a while.
Right, exactly.
If this thing only attacks once a week, once a month even, and there's this big risk sort of thing that this town is going to get destroyed, and people, you know, the rarer these things are, the more compelling they are. And Guild Wars 2 has never quite grasped that. All the mega bosses and stuff have always been on far too short cooldowns for me, and you know, the fact that they're easy was a big part of it as well. But this is why I find the idea of revamping more mega bosses really compelling too, because like, if there was one thing that they did badly with Tequatl, I think they did a lot of incredible stuff with Tequatl.
Yes.
There's one thing that they should have spent more time on, in my opinion, would be bigger consequences in the area, right? They at least added some. The fish heads spawn on the beach. I would have liked bigger consequences than that if you failed the Tequatl event. And of course, the harsher those consequences are, though, you have to start balancing the dragon's cooldowns too. But what you're talking about with, you know, the brand could spread and stuff, when they redo the Shatterer, this is a genuine possibility. They redo the Shatterer in such a way that the Shatterer fight includes everything that was going on at Steel Eye Span. Steel Eye Span is an awesome meta event area. It's the first meta event we ever had experience of from Gamescom and demos for Guild Wars 2 ever. It was where the first ever footage we saw of Guild Wars 2. It's an awesome place, but it's useless and means nothing. When they redo the Shatterer, I'd love to see them include Steel Eye Span into it. And also, you know, if you fail that event, really drill into the consequences, and yeah, maybe if they can, have the brand shift. Now, that's far easier said than done, but these are possibilities, and if they want to prove that the living story can do this stuff, then that's the stuff they need to look at, right, to instill people's confidence in it.
Yeah, like, it's really hard to balance, okay, it's going to take a very long time in order to fight this dragon, right? And if we fail this, we're never going to fight that dragon, right? People kind of lose interest. So you have to kind of balance it, like, okay, we don't want them to lose interest, but we want them to work to fight that dragon, right? It's the same thing with Balthazar, right? Like in the beginning of the game, everyone was farming Balthazar. You know, not farming, but everyone was trying to defeat it, and everyone's working together to do it. Just because you need the Obi shards. Not everyone has Obi shards.
Not only that as well. What was fantastic about Balthazar is it was one of the only events that really had an impact on the game that could be failed. It was one of these only events where like it was really important that you didn't fail it, but all those NPCs could die. Yeah. And like that is a key difference between that event and most other events in Guild Wars 2. The old bosses, as they used to stand, wouldn't fail. They just wait for you, and most of the god temples would just wait for you. You know, you get to the point where the priest of Grenth spawns. He's just waiting for you. That's another reason. Sorry, I cut you across there, but that's why I think another reason why I think Balthazar was so good, which the mega bosses now tap into too.
Right, and I think I lost track of what I was supposed to
My
say.
bad.
No, it's cool. I'm pretty sure people got the base from my context. Basically, you know, it would be cool to see something like that, and plus make the rewards worth it. All right, like I say this repeatedly because the rewards are just not good enough. Arena, they're not good enough, man. There's no point for it if there's no rewards. I understand you want it fun. Like, of course, I want my gameplay fun, of course, right? But it really adds something when it's worth it at the end. Adds something, and I realize that Guild Wars 2 is not that game. It's not that game that you have crazy stat gear that only some people get, and you know, like gear progression and all that nonsense or whatever.
Legendaries that were meant to be that,
but they cut that though. They used to have like what 5 more weapon attack, and they cut that too, right?
Oh yeah, but no. Yes, there's not a statistical change, but They do want to cater to that audience because that's why legendaries exist. They do want to cater to an audience of players that just want the super rare thing. The super rare thing is meant to exist in Guild Wars 2, and there is meant to be that compelling super rare item for people to go for. Like that is meant to be a part of the game. And it's not that, oh, this is just a casual game only for casuals. They've always said that they want to appeal to, you know, these broad audiences. Yeah. Which, you know, could be foolhardy, but, you know, I don't think it's too much to ask for stuff like that. I don't. Just they have to be careful not to focus on it. You know, if they listen to someone like me for every single patch, tons of people would leave the game and hate it because it is not the kind of content they like. But I think there is a very large audience of people like me out there that just feel like there's a lot more that could be going on. Anyway, we spent ages on that one. Do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, Malik asks, what's your favourite Living Story patch to date?
You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say SAB. So I'm gonna say Super Adventure Bucks. Yeah, it's my favorite.
First time coming through or the second time?
Both really. Both are pretty good. But let's remove SAB. What's my favorite Living Story patch? Because it's not really necessarily a Living Story patch, is it? Really? Kinda.
Well, this most recent one was more of a Living Story patch because it actually had some relevance to a greater story outside of the SAP.
Right. That thing at the end, that little cheat code, up, down, left. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And the short stories and stuff. So it was more tied into the actual plot this time around.
Outside of this, I did like the invasions, but I mean, favorite is such a strong word, right? It's just like you can't say, "Oh, this is my favorite." You know, like I really enjoyed Halloween, because of the clock tower. I think that I really like Josh Foreman's patches. What can I say? I like Super Adventure Box.
Right, yeah.
I love Halloween. I did enjoy some of the recent ones, not counting Tequaddle or this one that just came out. The ones before that. The ones before that, yeah. Where the whole Scarlet thing and the Living Story was pretty decent. I was actually intrigued. The one with Super Robo, you know, with the pavilion. That one is on top 5 list. Like, I really enjoy those patches. I've logged in and like just spent hours and hours and hours and hours on those things. This past 2 patches, I feel like even though I enjoyed Tequaddle, I feel like it's not catering to me. And
you like the farm patches, not the difficult, less content patches, basically.
No, it has nothing to do with difficulty. It has something to do with rewards. When I log in to Guild Wars 2, as a YouTuber, right, we spend most of our day pretty much editing and doing work. and less time playing games. When I log into Guild Wars 2, I don't feel like fighting a dragon over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, for less rewards. Yes, I beat it a couple times, but that's pretty much it. After that, it's just like, I don't know if I want to, unless it's an organized group, I go in, but just for the sake of just playing it, I guess the best example is the dungeon. I don't feel like playing it after I beat it the first time, because it's just no point in me going back into it. Right? Yeah. I enjoy the difficulty. I really do. And I enjoy beating it. Like, yes, we finally got through the ooze part. Yes, we finally beat that general. It was like right before the boss. Yeah, I love the boss fight for the dungeon. I enjoyed it. It's too long. Okay? I mean, spending 2 hours. You like to waste time winning potatoes.
I do like to waste time, yeah.
I can't. Unless the rewards are there. I guess I'm just a different type of player. I love the hardcore stuff, but the rewards have to be with the hardcore stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a big rewards guy, obviously. I love my skins. I love my rewards. I love my gold. I love being rich. That's I guess that's the type of player I am. Yeah, and I love the fun I have is Super Adventure Box. That's the fun I have. Tribulation mode. That's me with fun. That's what I consider fun. Yeah, you go ahead with your living story, Pats. I can talk all day on this. Go ahead.
I thought for a while there, I was almost definitely going to say my favorite was the Zephyr Sanctum. The Bazaar of the Four Winds, yes, it was incredibly excuse plotty going there, and I didn't like that. But it was a really well-designed area. I had a lot of fun in the activity that was with it. And the lore that came with that patch, at least when it first came out, when it looked like we could be going to the Crystal Desert soon, and they were actually doing interesting stuff, before everyone realised, oh, it's just a set piece. Originally, the excitement that came from learning about Glint and just how well designed that new area was. I love new areas, and that new area was very fun. I thought that they had made a lot of really tangible steps in a good direction with that Living Story patch, where the fixing signs the version of fixing signs for that patch was doing all this interesting platforming and going around and examining the environment and finding all the crystals. That was really awesome. I thought it was incredibly well designed, and to an extent the patch immediately on the heels of that, Cutthroat Politics, was pretty interesting too. I think that the content that actually came from inside it, the little mini missions and stuff, weren't necessarily so great, but again the activity, the South Sun Survival,
yeah, best activity
amazing.
Ever, man. Yeah.
And I think the idea of us being able to influence the Living Story is also very exciting, and it excited me, despite the fact I think they added way too much to it. It wasn't about the story, it was about loads of other stuff. It was about blackline keys and waypoints and a fractal. Like, they bundled too many things into that decision just to try and make everyone vote, I guess. I would have liked it to have just been purely about the story. Who do you think would make a more interesting story? Ellen Keel, because she's going to do the right by the people, or Evan Nashblade, because he's going to do the wrong by the people, and that'll be more compelling, kind of thing. Like, I found that very, very exciting. A lot of stuff with that patch was just awesome. But at the same time, so that was my first instinct to be like, that's my favorite. But then, there wasn't actually that much to outside of the mini game. There wasn't that much to play. Like the Queen's Pavilion and the Jubilee, sorry, was really good because that was constant content for those 2 weeks. Oh my god, with the champion update and stuff. Oh my god, so much playtime. I farmed a legendary in 2 weeks during that. That was an insane amount of playtime.
Yeah.
So fun. Those farm patches were amazing. There was a lot more content to play for that, but I feel like what they put in the game was really strong for the Bazaar of the Four Winds. It was just undermined by, its temporary nature, its excuse plotty episodic nature getting there. It was bogged down by the fact it was just a set piece in the end. It was bogged down by these other things, but at its core, what they'd done was good. They just need to, get rid of the rubbish stuff they added to it. And I guess that's my favorite, really.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Was that question 5? No, that was... Yeah, okay. So the next question is... Direct Zone again. Okay, so it's not the same question. I thought it was for a second. What's your stance on the state of the Holy Trinity? Support DPS and... Oh, sorry. The current state of our Trinity, which is support, DPS, and control. If I can even ask that, since it's pretty non-existent, how do you think it can be improved? This is a huge topic.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's why I chose it. Man, like, I find myself missing a little bit of being a tank. A little bit, just a tad, not all the way, because I enjoy having I enjoy the game being high skill for high reward. You know, dodging, blah blah, and you last longer by using the mechanics. Like for the Guardian, when you dodge, you heal, and then if you equip save yourselves, you get vigor, which gives you more endurance, which you can keep dodging, keep healing. You know, like I like the mechanics like that and in that way you can be extremely tanky, and people still call looking for a tank when they're going looking for group and stuff like that. People still call it what it is. You know, it's like, oh, we're looking for a guy who can handle some hits. You know, and control, really? I don't, is it me that I don't see the control in Holy Trinity? I don't see that.
It's because
of Defiance.
No. It's not just Defiance. People put way too much on that, in my opinion. The problem is that you can't spec exclusively into one of these. Like, you can quite easily be tanky and then still accidentally throwing out a bazillion cripples and chills and blinds and all genuine control stuff anyway, because your stats don't necessarily determine what your weapons are always going to be doing anyway, kind of thing. Like, you can't spec heavily into any of them. Like, you're always a massive blend of all three at once. And the biggest distinction there is whether you're DPS-y or support-y, and it's not nearly always better to be DPS-y at the moment because you'll kill stuff quicker, you'll get through. I think the way they handled the down state, especially in PvE, like, why do you need to waste all your time trying to heal people up, where if you can just kill the thing that, if he's downed, if you can just kill the thing that he's auto-attacking, then he gets up anyway, and the enemy's dead. You know, that's a really big part of the combat system that is a huge element of why it's a DPS race in this game. I've got to say, there's a lot of people that do miss being tanks that I've come across while playing the game, and I think it's a lie that you can have. I don't think taunt necessarily makes all gameplay no skill. I really don't. I think taunt can be handled in a way that would be very interesting, but ArenaNet have always shied away from taunt. Taunt has never been a thing in this game, like in either game that they've made, and they've always tried to do that very explicitly to keep the combat fresh. What was their philosophy? Combat is only exciting if at any moment everything could go wrong. Those moments where everything goes wrong are the most exciting moments, and this is why we don't have tanks and like this basic paradigm of the regular Holy Trinity. But the thing is, it's also dilute right now. There are no oh my god moments, really. There aren't in this game. There is no equivalent in Guild Wars 2 of your tank suddenly dying and then like a million mobs just rushing you down. There is no equivalent. So, you know, I think maybe they handled it sort of poorly in some ways. We have a very soft Trinity. I mean, it's such a huge topic. I don't want to go on about it too long. But I think for the most part, I've still been able to enjoy the combat system, and I find the combat system's fluidity and the just the interest in each of the different skills is quite diverse. That it's interesting enough to hold my attention, but I think it could be way better. I think conditions,
I think
boons, revamp.
I think that definitely they're going to revamp a lot of the stuff, and we might see some different builds coming out of this that they're trying to aim to. Maybe they're leaning towards...
Well, the next patch is for support, isn't it?
Oh, so only support, huh?
To buff.
Well, they do need kind of buff that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
It will definitely help my my Boon Guardian. But what about aggro in the game? Like, you can't necessarily just hold aggro. You know, sometimes the monster ends up just attacking like the guy with the lowest health and keeps following him, and that guy has to just keep kiting around while everyone else tries to catch up to him and hit him, you know? And most of the times the melee guys, you know, you kind of have to just switch to range and just kind of gun down. I think
that's one of the big problems with the combat system, that meleeing is often so weak until it's incredibly strong. Stacking is ridiculously overpowered. There's a poor distinction between, like, are we meant to be able to melee or range? It's up to us, or are you forcing us to melee or range? Like, they've never really been clear to their players about that,
Yeah.
and as a result of that, I think everyone always feels cheated no matter what they're doing. They're like, oh, I want to be ranging, and I have to stack with these guys, blah blah blah. I think there are a lot of problems with it, but and that's why I also think it's been very hard for them to make very interesting 5-man encounters. If you notice, where they're trying to make good 5-man dungeons, all of the emphasis is on the bosses themselves and the mechanics themselves around them to make it like as interesting as possible with like the ooze following, and they have to do it that way so that like those external mechanics can actually carry the combat system itself, because otherwise people would just stack in a corner and DPS down every boss, right, every single time. So they're getting better at it, and I think that can make up for the combat system's shortcomings. But we'll see what happens when more support is buffed. But it's always I think a DPS race, when you get to top end, it's always going to be a big part. And that's why Tequatl is so good as well, because Tequatl has real roles. You want tanky people on the turrets. It makes sense. There's no reason to have a DPS guy on a turret. Yes, it was kind of annoying that they just nerfed it in a terrible way, but they did stop Zerk's people from. They made a distinction between people on Zerk stats and people on other stats. Now I think that the build should be discriminated on upon the traits you choose, the weapons you choose, and the utilities rather than the stat spreads you decide to go into. But still, there are roles with the Tequatl fight, and that's awesome. I love that. Basically, I was a support elementalist. If you're an elementalist with Tequatl, you're summoning weapons for everyone else. You're giving mass heals to people. You're giving mass stability to people. You're giving mass condi cleanse to people. You're support, and you do damage at the same time, of course. But you're support, and I was running an insane, awesome, fun support clerics. Elementalist during that encounter, and that's the first time I felt genuinely really useful in anything other than just massive DPS race. So yeah. Okay. We got 2 more left. Number 6 is, unless you wanted to say something more on the last one.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Malik again says, how do you have your tea, and which tea bags do you use? If you drink coffee, I won't judge you.
Since you're UK, I figured that you would.
Tell me your history with tea.
All right, so for me, I'm not a fan of coffee. Just not a fan of coffee. I do like Starbucks caramel frappe. Yeah, frappuccino for sure. Definitely with the little crumbles and cookie crumbles inside. Heck yeah, everyone likes that. But coffee in general, do I drink coffee in the morning and stuff like that? No, I'm not a big coffee user unless it's I'm very expensive. The coffee has to be expensive coffee. There's just this one called, I think, Godvita or something like that. I don't think it's the chocolate. I think I'm trying to say the chocolate, but there's this expensive coffee that I use. It's instant coffee as well that just tastes the best, and it's extremely expensive. But I'm not big on coffee. I'm big on juice though, and that's why I like tea. Now, what I use is, man, I got some raspberry. Hold on. I'm gonna get it.
You've got such a history. Okay, while he's away, I don't drink either. I don't care for them. I drink a little bit of coffee if I need to be perked up, but I don't particularly like it.
Oh, this is so professional right now. The tea.
It's alright. I kept him entertained. Go for it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to edit that out. All right. So, it's these raspberry, natural celestial seasoning herbal tea or whatever.
Okay.
And it's really good. Really good. And I put some a little bit of sweetener. Sometimes I make it into some juice, but yeah, I drink it hot with a little squeeze of lime. And yeah, I try out some different trees as well.
Right now.
Yeah, but yeah, tea is good. It's warms the heart. When you wake up in the morning. After you read a handful of YouTube comments. Yeah, of course. Of course. What about you, man? Do you get tea and biscuits?
No, I don't really drink. That's what I said while people are away. I have a little bit of coffee if I need to perk up. And actually, last week I was talking about how my tooth was aching. Mm-hmm. I think it was because I was drinking that for the 3 days in a row. I had coffee when I woke up in the morning, and after I drank the coffee, that was what was making my tooth ache. So I just stopped drinking it, and my teeth have been fine ever since. So yeah, I mean, I barely drink coffee at all. I very rarely drink tea. Most people I interact with on a daily basis, however, do drink a lot of tea, lots and lots and lots. However, if I do have coffee, I do have it instant coffee. I don't think I've ever had real coffee in my life, honestly. I don't think I've ever had coffee that wasn't instant.
Really?
Yeah.
You're missing out. There's some good like pumpkin coffee.
But if I have instant coffee, I just have it with water, and like I have it like black, I guess, right?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like for me,
no
things have to taste good. I'm sorry.
It tastes
things
alright.
have to taste good. Like for me, I have to have that nice sweetener. But like the thing is, when I started eating healthy, when I started losing all this weight, I can't eat all of that. I can't go to Starbucks and have all that coffee. So that's why I went.
Coffee.
That's why I went to tea. That's why I started drinking tea.
Ah, okay.
Is because coffee, like unless you have it black, which I hate.
Try it. When was the last time you tried it?
A couple weeks ago.
Oh, really? Why did you try it a couple of weeks ago if you hate it?
Because I was tired. But coffee doesn't do anything for me. It just makes my head hurt. Like it doesn't make me like up an atom, you know? Like I feel like I have to take
up an atom.
Yeah, I need to try Red Bull. Maybe I shouldn't try Red Bull.
Don't try Red Bull.
Because I might get wings
seriously
from that.
addicted to Red Bull.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And you actually stayed up? Like, it actually helped you?
No, not me. My brother, like, got ridiculously addicted to it. Like, he would have, like, at least 2 cans a day or something stupid like that. Yeah. I rarely find stuff like that affect me either, but I think there is sort of a placebo effect when I want to drink coffee. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Maybe I should have a cup of coffee. And then half an hour later, I do feel better. But often, like, if you're tired, you wait half an hour, you might be feeling better anyway. So I'm never quite sure if it works, but it's my go-to thing anyway, just because people say it works. So I'll be a sheep and do it anyway. Meh. Amazing. Last question. Amazing. Okay. Joseph Wynn says, okay, my question. Do you think ArenaNet will ever get back to the idea of continually adding new events and chains to current events like they talked about before launch? The last time they really did this was in October. And then again, when they revamped South Sun, but it was only for one zone. This was one part of the game I was really interested in that hasn't materialized. It's so hard to call this a living world when you watch the Queensdale Karma train run on forever. I want new dynamic events and new chains.
The Queensdale Karma train.
I always think of like Benny Hill or people with like maracas, like Karma, Karma, just over and over whenever I think of it. That's all it is. People doing. They're just waypoint around, waypoint around, waypoint around.
In the beginning of the game, do you remember them saying, "Oh yeah, dynamic events are gonna change. That we're gonna keep cycling them every month or so, but we don't know yet. We have to see how it goes at launch." And then you don't see anything. You said you made a video. Oh no, you made a video of the trailer. Oops, never mind. The trailer, not the actual events. I should try to see like all the stuff that they said in the beginning of the game and what they've actually did.
I have got this is going to be wonderful. I've got a list of things that never made it, okay? In Guild Wars 2, right? Which I am thinking of doing a potential video of.
Do it.
This is what I've got in it so far. The giant underwater monster from one of the trailers that we saw, like in the Gamescom trailer. The giant dragon that is like down on the floor and like looks like it's a dungeon entrance. Okay, there's this whole thing with Zaitan's body that people data mined out of one of the Ara maps. And okay, so a lot of this isn't stuff that they'd put in. It's just like artifacts from development. Because I've also got energy potions on here. I've got a bunch of the old activities that they said they were going to put in. You can look on their blog. There's an old, well, their blog's down now, but there's an old post about activities that they were going to put in, like jousting, the archery shoot, nearly every single
mini game,
like demo that they ran through originally, where they like started off in Queensdale and then they showed you a little bit of the first section, and then they take you into Divinity's Reach, and every time they'd run past the archery shootout and they'd say, "Oh, this is going to be an activity later." Archery shootout, bar brawl. Polymock is one of them. There used to be a whole like HD screenshot option. First person view, I think, was implemented at one point but taken back out. The round compass was one thing. There's a thing in a trailer where there's loads of airships above Lion's Arch that we never got to see. There's loads of stuff. I'm not going to go all the way through that. But yeah. What were we saying before this?
We're talking about the events and the meta events.
Oh,
seeing that they would change them. The thing about that is that you got to really think, when you think about ANET developing stuff, you really got to think of what they're replacing when they decide to develop something, right? If they develop something they have to make sure that they're earning a return from that, or they're just gonna go to the ground with that. All right, so for instance, if they come out with a meta event, right? The meta event, they redo the meta event, and they put it out, and they change in Queensdale, or not in Queensdale, Harathi Interlands, right? They changed that whole event with the Centaur, right? Where you have to fight that big elemental boss and everything like that. They changed that, and they swap it out with something else. They put it in a patch. That's it. People go, they play it for their level, and then that's it.
Well,
no one cares.
Yeah, okay, but the thing is, when they were saying this, the idea was they would continually add dynamic events, but it wouldn't necessarily mean they'd take it away. It would mean, like, for the first week of September, they'd be on a certain rotation. For the second week of September, it might be different events that are going on there. Like, they keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, and the events that are currently active in a zone for any given time are completely randomized from this huge pool of events that they already have.
Right.
And in that way, a year, 2 years after the launch of Guild Wars 2, if every single month they had kept adding dynamic events, there would be a mind-boggling amount of different things that could be going on at any time. And yes, it would feel like a living world. But so it's not necessarily that they have to take stuff out, but there is a cost there, and it's the opportunity cost. It's, do they spend all this time making events, or do they spend this time making expansion or living world, as they've decided to go with? You know, that's where the debate comes in. Because
the player base is spread out on so many servers, when you level a character, which I often do, because that's pretty much what I do on the side in Guild Wars 2, is level a couple characters, is no one's there. No one's there. The maps are practically completely empty, other than a handful of people, unless there's a champion there, like in Queensdale. People like to farm champions in Queensdale. There's no one there. Why would they spend time doing this when they already missed out on this, right? They should have done this from the beginning.
Well, that's a double standard, though, isn't it? That's a double standard, because if they were doing this, then the idea is people would be there.
Well, not necessarily, because after a while, those 3 events that are in that area that are different, you obviously played them already.
Yeah, but then still the next month they've added more. That's the whole idea, that they keep adding more.
But that takes time, and that takes effort.
And
they're not that big of a team.
For new players, yeah, exactly. So there are very real reasons why they haven't done it. I also think another big reason why they didn't do it is because after heart quests became a thing because of their feedback and stuff, all of a sudden heart quests were sort of something people had to constantly go through, and they had, I think heart quests really muddied the water. And now that dynamic events weren't the only thing driving the content, it was sort of like, well, people are going to have the same experience anyway, whether there's loads of different dynamic events or not, because they're always going to be going to the same heart quests. Because at some point in development, they also decided, right, a requirement almost of leveling up is that you get 100% on every map. And I always think that 100% on every map should have been sort of like a secondary thing you could have done if you wanted, but wasn't necessarily a requirement. And then by making it a secondary thing, they could have made it much more interesting, like more difficult vistas as they used to be, and a lot of other stuff like that.
But what ended up happening is that people have to 100% the map in order to level up. And even then, if you 100% the map all the way, when you get to around 30 or 40, you kind of get the stuck, right? Especially if you don't do your personal story. And if you've done a personal story over and over again, you don't want to do it again. Okay, so you don't want to do it again. So you're stuck at level 30, 40, and you don't want to do your personal story, but you have to now. And doing a personal story to get to the point that you're going to gain a level is going to suck, because it's going to take hours and hours of your time. And if you don't have time, it sucks, right? So you're going to have to craft, and that's become a thing that you have to craft, but people don't know that. Some new players just don't know that crafting is pretty much makes your time a lot easier leveling a character. And looking at the guides.
In this situation you've explained, though, then the extra events would have been nice, because it would help. It would appeal to that minority.
Oh no, I want the events. I'm the one who's complained multiple times that they nerfed the events. You remember in the beginning of the game? The beginning of the game, there was events everywhere. It was an amazing time to level up. Hearts came as a secondary. Right? They came as you played events, as you experienced the world. What happens now? You have to do the hearts, and it's a chore. It's a chore now. I don't want to level up no more.
Did they really change the relates?
Dude, Yeah, dude, it's like nothing there now. Like barely events, man, and there's barely people because of that. I don't want to level up no character, and I don't do it. I love the events. I like dynamic events. That's the reason. Some of the reasons why I even play Guild Wars 2. And events don't even get tired to me, except escort quests. I don't like escort quests, but even though they're alright, escort quests are alright. They're just my least favorite, but.
Speaking of escort quests,
I still like events. Like to this day, I will still replay an event that I like because I enjoy dynamic events. And but the hearts, I feel like it should be second to the event. I feel like an event should always be up. And yes, okay. If it's up too much, then scale the rewards for the event. But it's so much better when there's just constantly events going on. But, and in turn, because there's no events, there's no people to go and walk around and play with. And maybe the events would be there and no one would be there and there'll be no way to complete the event. And it will kind of hinder the way that you complete the hearts. Maybe that would have happened. But yeah.
Some maps are like in desperate need of events. There's, I use a tool, Dynamic Event Viewer. And it is amazing. It just, you load into a map, it tells you all the dynamic events that are currently going on, and it's allowed me to see loads of events. Like when I level characters, that's exactly how I play now. It's let me see loads of events that I didn't even know exist. But you do sometimes load into a map. Like I think the worst offender is the Plains of Ashford. Plains of Ashford across that entire starting zone map, okay, and that's really important. Starting zone map often has 2, maybe 3 events active at any one time. There are barely any events going on there, if ever. Events like, again, like I've got so many ideas on what they could do with events, but like one thing is, Beetleton, that meta event in the low level areas. There's loads of events that they have designed that you never see. I believe. I could be wrong in this, but I believe if that pushes far enough, doesn't Beetleton get attacked? I remember them talking about Beetleton getting attacked before launch. We were talking about stuff that may not have ever made it. I think that was one of them, right? All of Beetleton can be attacked by the centaurs, but because it's in a starting level zone and it's so easy to complete those events, the centaurs, I have never, ever been in Queensdale when Beetleton's been anywhere remotely close to being attacked, because that meta is always pushed. So, there are a lot more avenues already. I would say they don't have to necessarily design a bunch more events, but just rebalance the way their metas work. Like, for example, I think if you do an event where you, like, take an outpost and it's going to get periodically attacked, I think every time it gets attacked, it should scale up in difficulty regardless of how many players are there, so that eventually it does get lost, and then there is like this push-pull to the actual map. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not going to get into it. There's loads of other stuff they could do with like rewards. So like you only ever get a bronze reward, but if it's a really high scaled up event because you've been holding the outpost for so long, it goes up to silver and then gold, and then it's actually much more rewarding. And that incentivizes players to pay attention to dynamic events in places like ore and capture outposts and towns. And then it's like actually in our best interest, and it's rewarding for us as players to hold them and have them defended. Like
Wouldn't that be amazing? It's like World v World, but against the computer.
Yeah, like look at the god temples. People kill the boss and capture the god temple, but nobody wants to keep it under our control because they don't get rewarded for doing it. What if by pushing off the first wave, it's an easy wave the first time, but then the Orions are going to attack again after that, and they're going to be more. The scaling isn't about how many players there are there necessarily, but how long you've owned the outpost for. And maybe the default reward, they do bronze, silver, and gold at the moment. Screw that. Get rid of all that. Nobody cares about bronze or silver rewards, right? Everyone gets a bronze reward. The bronze reward is equivalent of a current gold reward. Regardless, it's always a bronze reward. But if you've successfully completed an event that has scaled really high because you've been holding it for so long, then it becomes a silver reward, and it's more, and it like doubles the reward, and then it becomes gold and it doubles, and maybe even add other tiers after that. And you'll just have groups of guildies and allies and friends just going to random places and maps, like random little events that nobody cares about right now, and they're like, look. Like there's that one in Plains of Ashford. We're talking about Plains of Ashford. There's that one in the bottom left-hand corner where you help the Ash Legion take a camp and loads of ghosts attack it. You can have like just a guild like, right, we are defending this place, and they just like defend it for an hour or two. Every time the ghosts come back, there's more of them and more of them and more of them, but the guildies keep piling in, and suddenly you got like this huge Zerg, this battle against just this outpost, and people are getting rewarded for it. And by doing stuff like that, they don't have to add new events. They just... They make the events that are currently there way more enticing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than just going for the first gold.
And you get something for taking over the keep and stuff like that. You know, it would be great. I would love for them to have some type of like temple protecting thing, or so, like, or there should be an event where like just like a castle or something that they have to build. Or what if they're building a bridge, right, to the next map, right? That is a way to entice people to go to the map and look at what's going on. Like, they're building a bridge, but then this whole event where they're attacking the bridge and they're trying to get, you know, like mess up the production of the bridge, you know, and it will slow down production until the patch comes out or something like that. I don't know. Like, it would be cool, like, to see some stuff like that. And you always have a bar, like how they should have had with the voting. They should always have a bar at the top right hand corner. If they want players to choose, they can choose to guard this bridge. And, you know, like, and there's some big castle, right? And if the centaurs break through the wall, the bridge gets minus, I don't know, 5% of production value or whatever, or something like that, depending on how fast it is.
Yeah, no, without that, there's so much, man.
So much you can do with dynamic events, and it would be great to have some type of player versus world feature. NPC feature like that in the game for PvE, because right now PvE, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that, man.
That's actually dynamic, right?
Yes.
Dynamic events at the moment are just canned things that fire off and are either completed or not. Like, what we're talking about is more fluid and more dynamic. And I always thought that's what Ore would eventually be like, right? Ore, I think Ore should be a lot more like World versus World. It should be the PvE World versus World. It should be, all waypoints in the Cursed Shore are contested unless you, with the Pact and other players on your server, have actually pushed up and gone to capture those areas. Like, you should not be allowed to just walk straight through the Straits of Devastation and skip into the Cursed Shore.
That's how it was in the beginning.
If there's nothing going on in Straits of Devastation, like, the idea should be, like, I think, like, getting into Aurora, there's so much, man.
Dude, that's how it was in the beginning. That's how it was. Like,
yeah, at the start, nobody does it anymore.
Yeah, what they did was nerf it. They made waypoints uncontested. Some waypoints are uncontested now. But what would happen, in the beginning of the game, I thought I couldn't get into Ore. Like, I made this video about endgame in Guild Wars 2, and, like, I thought you could not get into Ore whatsoever, right? It was that
should be the way. That should have been how it was.
Yeah, but it kind of was, because there was no way for you to get in. All the walls were blocked, and there was just too many enemies all around, right? You couldn't get in by yourself. It was extremely.
I don't know. I don't know whether that's been patched. It is still like that. I think it's just that we were.
Nah, it's not the same. It's not the same. Some waypoints are contested now. I mean, are uncontested now.
Yeah, but you have to get
before.
through to them the first time. Yeah, they've made it easy. They've added some new waypoints, but there have always been, since the launch of the game, places like the Rally waypoint in Straits of Devastation, which is right inside Ore and would never be contested. They have always existed. Always. As long as you could get behind those bone walls at least once by legitimately pushing the events or just going around them, which has also always been an option, you've always been able to skip through that stuff. You've always been able to walk into the Cursed Shore portal while all of Straits of Devastation was overrun, if you could get past the enemies. Which was harder at launch, I cede you that, but it's always been possible. So, yeah. And now they've made it even easier. But yeah, like, Ore, I feel like should have been this real push-pull. It's like, once a day, the server teams up at Fort Trinity, and you all push out from Fort Trinity, sweep all the way through the Straits of Devastation, and you get, like, time, as you're going through, the goal is to get to the Gates of Arar. You've got a certain period of time to do it, and as you go through, you can decide optionally on the fly whether you have time or the strength or the capability to get the god temples as you go. And if you do have that ability, then it increases the rewards you get at the end or makes it easier at the end. And like, that's the idea. It's like a server-wide sweep through Ore, and it's all very strict. It's on a time limit. I'm thinking of it along the lines of stuff like Tequotal, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And as you go, it's like, oh, our server got to the Gates of Arar and we managed to get Lissa and Grenth too. It was awesome. And then someone else is like, oh, well, Blackgate got all 5 of the gods, you know, or something like that. Everyone's like, oh man, what was your strat? How did you do that? That was crazy. And they all get like this epic skin because they have all the temples at once, and and then it's this big fight for the remaining hours. How long can your server hold Ore? And that would be great, but you know that stuff is easier said than done because personal story is all through OR, and you can't say to random Joe, "Oh, sorry, you can't do your personal story right now because your server's not going to be able to push through OR for another 12 hours." It's not fair, and you know these are design decisions they made early that are not easily undone anymore. So yeah.
All right, I guess that's all the questions, right?
I think that is the last question, yeah. I don't know why. I feel uneasy about today's episode. I'm not sure. I feel like we just ranted about crazy ideas that people are just not going to like. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. Right. What do you want all this hardcore crap in Guild Wars 2? Go away.
I wonder, what is the most of the player base? Are you guys casual or are you guys hardcore? This will show like who got here as well at the end. I know a lot of people listen to this like when they're farming. I see a lot of the comments like, "Oh, I listen to this while I'm farming and stuff like that, or doing something."
Hope
or
your
have
farms went well, guys.
Yeah.
Hope you got an entropy.
You remember when that was a thing? Oh man, see, like those are the patches that get you like excited. Those farming and getting gold and oh my gosh, am I gonna get entropy? Like people actually got stuff from RNG. Like, why did they do more of that stuff? Oh my gosh. It was so...
Don't forget, there was insane inflation during that patch.
I know, but they could nerf it down a bit, make it suitable. But ArenaNet, you know, they're still getting used to how to nerf things. Sometimes they cut too much. They cut too much from the... You know, the cake.
You gotta cut too much. It could just be because they're two different, you know, they're all different pods, right? They're their own individual little groups that are making their living story updates. It'll be funny if in like a year, we all have our own preferred team of people that make living story stuff. It's like, oh, I really liked the people that made Bazaar of the Four Winds, so I'm looking forward to their next patch. And you're like, oh no, I really like the guys that made the Crown Pavilion. I'm looking forward to their patch.
That's interesting.
And everyone else is like, oh, I hate the guys that did this, or this. And then
it's like Call of Duty and Infinity World and Treyarch. Like, there's a different Call of Duty every year, and they're made by different
devs,
people.
Yeah. See, that'd be pretty funny to like eventually come across that.
I'll be with John Foreman and his crew. Josh Foreman. Wow. That's the first time I got it wrong. What is with me? All right, Josh Foreman, and I think Lisa was his partner, and then, of course, the people who work with him. Obviously, he doesn't do it. Yeah, obviously, he doesn't work by himself. Or, yeah, but whatever. I think that's it. Anything else?
Yeah, my throat's getting a bit sore. Again, feel like I've talked too much, but this is a show about talking, so...
All right. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a like, share with your friends, leave a comment, say what's up in the comment section below. And stay visual.
I tip my hat to you. I will see you next time.
Where luck has no pants.